So Chris, can you share a piece of advice you wish you were given at the start of your career?
Sure. I think really it is think as broadly as possible. Many,
Yeah.
many problems that we create for ourselves are from a misunderstanding of context, objectives, frameworks, or something like that. And then as more people get involved with it, if you're not taking the time to set that context, everyone starts to work at cross purposes. And the longer I've been in this business, the more I think that that's true. And we'll probably touch on this later with the team question, but like trying to back off when a problem looks intractable, when a situation looks hard, trying to back off for at least a minute and ask everyone, like, wait, what are you trying to do? You and the individual, you and the plural, what is it that we should all be doing together? And from that, you can, and this is not just games, like many businesses have this problem, right? So having a solid problem statement is half the problem usually. So I like the phrase, I use it quite a bit, which is to solve a problem, make it bigger. That's the thumbnail takeaway.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career that changed the trajectory of your career?
Yeah, the first is, and this is going to be a theme. I love games. I've been in games a long, long time. I've loved them since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, as they say in the United States, which is to say very small. And I got into games happily and luckily. Actually, I was planning for a career in something else, studying Chinese and history and like all these things that have nothing to do with games. Games was just my hobby. But then it turns out, completely luckily, the pivotal moment was that I sat across the table from the vice president of international at Wizards of the Coast at a moment when they were trying to go into China. So here I was speaking fluent Mandarin, understanding the culture, loving games. And the conversation went from, yeah, I remember you, because I had actually applied to be the distributor for Magic in Taiwan where I was living. I remember you, to why don't you come by on Monday? I have a job for you. And that's how I got into games. And that was obviously pivotal. I think since then, I have gone through several pivots from trying to do a lot of this on my own and through academics, and then now in AAA at EA. And the main thing in each of those was really much of what I was just trying to say, like, what is it as a business we're trying to do? And how do we fit into a wider media culture? And how do we touch lives at an individual and at a meta level with all of the work that we do? And so for that, I'd say for each of those, I'll pick one. So on the sort of startup and academic side, I spent a number of years at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, where we were doing lots of kinds of, as you would expect at a polytechnic, industrialized research. So how do you take this student activity of trying to further knowledge and apply it to an industry, and in this case, video games? And so among the cool things that we did was apply game design to ADD and ADHD treatment using neurofeedback. So new kinds of controllers, new kinds of play styles, new kinds of all of this, and putting it together into a package that would benefit not only the kid who had ADHD, but the family as well, and then proving that out. And so that was really pivotal to me because it so strongly showed me how games can affect people. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. Like, there is so much that games has solved that software or other industries do not tend to consider and don't give us credit for.
What attributes do you look for when hiring for your team?
Sure. Well, I think unsurprisingly at this point, it is that ability to look at what I would consider a meta level. That is to say, very often we get very focused on our technical place in the org or in the project. And that's for everybody, right? Creative people have their technical aspect, and project managers like myself have our technical aspect. Engineers obviously have theirs, quality theirs, and so forth. And we often then drive that to a point because we feel most comfortable there, we feel most justified there, we see the problems most clearly there, and therefore we wind up missing the forest for the trees if we don't take a step back. And so when hiring for the team, I really do try to get a sense of course, all of those core skills in the technical areas, you have to have those to function. But then how do they interact with other people? So when they're faced with those kinds of problems, How do they treat other individuals? How do they frame those problems? How aware of their own language are they? I am a huge fan of memeology, if you will. And I don't mean the funny things that we all post on the internet, but like I see organizations as expressing themselves in the memes that they tell each other, like in the Dawkins sense, like a little tidbit of knowledge that we all share, we reference all the time, right? You know, one we see in games all the time is, I love games so much. I'm so passionate about games, right? And it's so hard, etc. These are things that tell us a lot about ourselves as often as we repeat them and refer back to them and nod our heads at each other about it. Like, well, what does it mean for us? And so on. And this is just a small example of like when I'm hiring for the team, I don't maybe get so philosophical, but
Not worry.
Nevertheless, I do try to assess that level of self-awareness alongside technical capabilities.